I've been at the festival, I think, probably 10 years ago. I think it was still in Toruń the first time. I remember the snow and the atmosphere of excitement that you once are in the center of the spotlight as a DP, which I personally don't like to be. I like to be behind the camera, but when you then all meet the colleagues and share your work, I think it's a very, very, enriching process and exchange, and I always like to learn, I think I hope I never stop learning, so that's a great chance to learn. And, to perceive, to let it sink. Now that I'm in the jury, rarely I find the time personally, I have to say, to watch 3 movies a day. Barely one sometimes, but actually it's quite enjoyable and interesting, the process that it sets, that it starts in me personally, and it actually makes me wanna do more of that. Kevin and me, we met the year before we did How I Live Now on a commercial shoot. It was one shoot day on a racetrack with an old racing lady, Maria Teresa Di Filippi, I think is her name. She's 85 and she was driving a $3 million worth car on Monza on her own, which is really hard to do. And I remember her struggling getting it to go, but then she went off and she was even beating our Russian arm by speed and was doing a race with the Russian arm. So we did interviews, and it was it's for a bank, and we met there, Kevin and I. We did interviews. It's kind of a documentary approach, and then we had only the one shoot day, which happens to be his birthday too, and he came to Berlin in February after for his world premiere of Bob Marley, and we had dinner and we started to speak about How I Live Now, and I had read the novel, so I don't know, but he just offered me the movie, and then we started working on it. Luckily did it last summer in Wales. It was a great experience for me, one of the best, I have to say, because I really liked working with these teenagers and kids, and the message of the film, I think, is a very important one. I mean, for me, it's an anti-war film for teenagers, and the more teenagers see the film, the better, I'm always looking for some message and sense in the work I do in features. The film is really 2 parts, the rather romantic world in English countryside with the very different cousins from our main character Daisy, played by Saoirse Ronan. So she comes into a complete different world, and we wanted to make it a cozy, romantic, very, very healthy world in a way, and to get the contrast bigger to the later grim wartime world. We did several tests and spent a lot of time on finding out what both of us and the producers liked in the end. Since we both did documentaries, we wanted to get this feel into the staging and blocking as well. So when Saoirse was like in the beginning, she had to get used to it that I did different moves, and we allowed her in a way to do different moves, and we found out what works for the scene by shooting it. In the small rooms, you're really happy if you have this less on a camera, which the Alexa M gave me, and also the weight for 7 weeks, it's a big difference, it's 4 kilos. So we also then tested the Canon C300, which came in handy for some of the scenes where the rooms were even tighter, and we wanted to have a little more frightening, a little more shaky, pulsating handheld look, and I think that worked really well to give it an even more dramatic moment, just simply by giving me a camera that has less weight and where you could basically see my pulse and my shakiness and breath, and it gives an eerie feeling sometimes. But then But then the second part becomes more cooler and more static by camera moves, so the whole life kind of freezes, you know. So to achieve that, we swapped from this old 70s glass to the most modern, and I think one of the best prime set, you know, the Leica Sumilux lenses, which have a beautiful crisp quality, but also I could transfer some of the softness in the skin into this harsh world. I think for that reason we went with these lenses, and it was great that we got them, because I think it was the first set that got delivered to UK. So I was really happy that I had these lenses, you know. Sometimes you have something in mind and the budget doesn't allow, but I'm glad that all of us, I mean, took the decision to go that way. There was really the moment when they have this argument on top of the hill where we were only, you know, literally the two of them on top of a hill, me handheld, trying to get the flair, the emotion, everything right, you know. So these are the moments where you can only hope that you get the light you want, you know, and even if you don't, you have to make the best out of it, and then sometimes it's not happening, but then there's the holy moment, and I think there's one of these holy moments when you see the wind in her hair, which you know, you see it through the viewfinder or on the monitor or whatever these days. I think you can still feel that was a special moment, the moment you did it, you know. So that's what I love. That's what I'm looking for, you know. And you have to be really prepared to get that moment, you know. So you have to, in a way, you have to be humble, and you know, you have to wait for it sometimes. It's sometimes not easy, and it's not for granted, these things. You know, the next day you can't come back if the schedule and the money doesn't allow. It was the same with Don't Come Knocking, when we had this holy moment with the cloud coming in, which was just magical, you know.